Paul is an intimacy coach teaching couples compassionate communication and Tantra, the art of sacred sexuality. Well, welcome, Paul.
Thank you. Wow, it's bright. No wonder he was hiding over there. So how many of you want more intimacy in your relationships? Physical, emotional? How many of you don't? Okay, this is for the group that does. So my talk is intimacy doesn't start in the bedroom. I've already been introduced to the good parts of me, but I didn't start out to be an intimacy coach. I actually started out as a commercial fisherman in Alaska. And so my idea of, you get my idea of intimacy. I came home as the captain. So I went through 1 divorce, 3 broken engagements, made every possible relationship mistake, and was tired of putting Band-Aids on relationships. And what ended up happening is I discovered something called nonviolent communication. How many of you know about that? All right, there's actually something, you could do some research, and it transformed the way that I communicate. I now teach that actually in prison. I teach nonviolent communication, but I also teach it to couples. So if you want something in your life different, one of the things you've got to do is let go of the past. So if you want more intimacy, you're going to have to let go of your ideas of what intimacy is. Like some people think intimacy is about safety. It's not. Intimacy is about risk. When you're saying intimacy, it's into me see, letting somebody see into you and seeing into them. It's entering their world or having them enter your world. And that's a scary thing to do. Most of us aren't trained how to do that. And it's about risk. And so what I'm going to do is wait for the next slide. I'm talking faster than I thought. So some of the ways to get more intimacy, it's about what you can talk about and what you can't talk about, and how you do and don't talk about those things. Intimacy is the ability to be with your partner's pain without trying to fix them, to be with them. It's a totally different world, and the slides up there are not matching the slides down here. Thank you. So the quality of your intimacy is based on the quality of your communication. And when your communication falls apart, so does your intimacy, and so does your relationship. And one of the things nonviolent communication taught me is that almost all communication, especially emotional, is either an act of love, you've got something to give, or it's a cry for help. And you look at most conflicts, when I work with conflicts, what's happening is either both people are trying to give and nobody's receiving, or both are trying to receive and nobody's giving. And I'm going to tell you a short story. A friend of mine who used to be married had a conversation about money with her ex-husband. And in that conversation, what happened is she made more of the money, he spent more of the money. And they had this conversation, and she wanted to be heard and understood. And at the end of the conversation, she didn't feel heard, understood, or valued. That night, they went to bed, and he wants to make love. And she's like, no, thank you. Why? Because until you're heard, understood, and valued, you don't feel like being vulnerable or intimate. So part of intimacy is your ability to listen. So this is a fearless listening right here. If you want to be valued, what you have to, it goes like this: be heard, understood, and then valued. If you don't feel heard, you don't feel understood, you're not going to feel valued. And if you look at this is the other half of it. It becomes a star. Conscious communication. This is communicating compassionately and courageously. Start by being conscious. And one of the things of consciousness is other people are not going to hear you the way that you want to be heard. So you put it all together, you got this. So consciousness, compassion, and courage. And if you look at that, almost any upset you've had in a relationship, one of those pieces was missing. So it's kind of nice to have a model where you can put it all together and look at it. Now, if you want to make a change in your life, first, awareness. Aware that you want to be able to make a change. Number 2 is understanding. Number 3 is agreement. Number 4 is action. So what I want you to think about is intimacy is a skill that you can learn. It's a muscle that you can build. It is about risk. It's not about safety. And until nothing changes in your relationship until somebody gets vulnerable. And it has an impact. Your vulnerability will transform your relationship. So here are some steps. Create magical moments with your lover. Learn new communication skills. Practice them. Build your muscle. The same way you go to the gym for anything else, Build your intimacy muscle. Communicate about communication. So this is the end. There's some videos I put up there free at magicrelationship.net. Just put your name and email in. Study it. Make it an art form. Intimacy is something you can learn. Thank you very much.